Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm Alyssa from IBF Careers Connect, and today we are here to talk about future proofing. Before I hand over the platform to my colleague, who will be speaking with our IBF fellow, Mr. Lee Keng Man, just some administrative details for you. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A section. It's located at the bottom of the screen. And just a gentle reminder that while the speakers are talking, we'll appreciate if you could mute your microphones so that they could eliminate any background noise. As such, without much further ado, let's welcome my colleague, Mr. Adrian Wu, Career Advisor for IBF Careers Connect, and our guest speaker today, IBF Fellow, Mr. Lee Keng Man.
Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Keng Man, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay,
Thank
great. So welcome, everyone. I think I do believe that there are some people still, coming in. So I'll just start with the preamble. Okay. So thank you all for joining us today. Very, very pleased to have Keng Man with us. Thank you also in advance for all the housekeeping stuff that Lisa has highlighted. Like she mentioned, if you have any questions, please do type them into the chat box and we will try to answer as many as time permits. Also, after the session, please help us to complete that customary quick 4-question survey so that we will know what to cater for you guys moving forward. Okay, so before I start, these kinds of sessions, as I mentioned in my email to you all this morning, is normally quite difficult, and as such, normally attracts a smaller crowd, more comfortable in an intimate crowd, which is something that we have right here now. It's a bit difficult because soft skills, unlike hard skills. You have to try to figure out what the takeaways are. But as I mentioned, and talking to Keng Man, we'll try our very best to see whether or not that you can, you get something out of this now, okay? And so I just wanted to go back to the days sometime last year when I first spoke to Keng Man, and then true to the topic of soft skills, I was very taken with his engagement style, as you will soon see, and it won me over quite quickly lah. So I made him a promise, that he and I will do a session this year, and the rest is history, right? So when I spoke to him, I said, hey, let's talk about something like to do with soft skills, because the previous sessions or the sessions I had lined up already were very focused on very specific technical topics, right? So many people think that IBF fellows like Keng Man are a different league. But the fellowship has been bestowed on folks like him for the service to the industry. But if you take it all away, we're still human beings. Keng Man is still just a normal human beings with, trials and tribulations. That's just like all of us. Okay, and as I mentioned in the advertisement, also, he was last working at Hamburg Commercial Bank, which I knew to be called HSH Nord Bank back in the day, and unfortunately, it ceased operations last year. And myself and my team were actually part of the IBF group that were called into the bank to help do outplacement for all the affected staff. So that was quite a sad thing. So, this session is about how Keng Man has bounced back, what he's up to right now, and just sharing his journey, and hopefully, there will be some takeaways that you guys can absorb, maybe even practice, think about, for example. Time permitting, I will also add my own personal experience by way of a few slides that I assembled late last night, to share with you guys so that, hopefully make the session even more meaningful. So yeah, this is not really rehearsed, so I'm hoping, that Keng Man's ready for the questions. And without further ado, Keng Man, welcome. So happy to have you joining us today.
Adrian, thanks so much for this. Really pleasure to be here. Again, you're right. I'm just a human being trying my best to, again, take this session to share. And hopefully benefits not just the crowd here, but beyond this crowd.
Fantastic. Hope, and I guess hopefully you and I will get to do more sessions again in the future. If depending on what the audience thinks about the session, looking forward to doing more such sessions because I think soft skills are so important, and we can talk about that a bit more later. Now, and the normal icebreaker question, which is like the just normal formal question I normally ask or start with, is about your career evolution. How did you get started in banking, and was it something that was it always something that you wanted to do? Was it planned?
let me, I suppose, start, right. Interestingly, banking is probably, at least during my time, not giving away the age, that's really the glam industry to be in. So to say that, yes, I was gunning for banking, that's a given. But what happens after that? From going from really corporate banking to shipping finance to transport and logistics, the industry came without not a proper way to plan it. Again, we can only say we want to do some planning, but effectively, it's who you meet along the way, opportunities that comes along. So I would probably say yes, banking as a start was planned, but beyond that, the last 30 years, all I can say is that every little step was quite an eye opener. In a way, enjoying the journey. So no regrets. Adrian, you're mute. I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. No, I was just my second question was basically if you reflect on your career, right? I mean, because your 3 decades of exposure has been so rich. Was there anything that in your career that you would have done differently, or wouldn't have done? Or okay, maybe you said like there was no regrets, right? But was there anything else that you
correct
hindsight that would you have done differently?
Yeah. In actual fact, especially the last, when we basically left the bank, the first thing I noticed was all my compliance colleagues and IT colleagues all got the job immediately. So if you tell me what is probably missing is that maybe I should have taken out those skills and I would probably be in a much better position. Again, not saying that it's a must, but I think it's also a timely reminder for all of us. Skill sets as well as flavor of the day, flavor of the decade could really change. So even if as we sit comfortably in our job, all I can say is that let's not close our eyes and ears to what is really out there. We need to be current. We need to know what is the next level of requirement, the next level of demand. So in many ways, I say if only I pick up more of such skills, that's probably really at the bottom of my heart. Maybe there's some tinge of regret that I should have taken more of this side skill sets, which would in a way not just benefit as an individual, but even for career-wise.
I think it's a very good point because, it's not just what the industry is saying, but what we are also preaching about. How do you say? You can be very comfortable and do your thing and only your thing, and hope that the market doesn't touch you, right? But if it does, for those people who didn't keep their eyes on the market, will be in a far more difficult situation than those that actually did lah.
Right. Unfortunately.
So I think that's very good advice, and it's very nice to hear you reiterate. And to the people that are here today, it's really the truth, isn't it? I mean, we're not here to sugarcoat anything, but also to give you the reality of what folks like myself and my team see. Also, hearing from Keng the reality of the market right now. And so the next thing, Keng, I wanted to ask would probably going to bring you back to your days at Hamburg, leading up to the announcement, of the business folding. I if you don't mind, I'd like to focus on were there anything that you did, or is there anything that you started to do to prepare for the inevitable? I mean, I don't know what was the timeline, but when you heard this is going to happen, was there anything that you started to execute by way of a plan or anything like that?
I would probably put it in a two-stage kind of discussion. First of all, I would probably say the writing was on the wall. If we follow carefully in terms of something that it's a painful process, but having said that, I think there's certain lessons to be gleaned from, if I may just share personal experience here. First of all, you talk about again, I know disruption is such a I'm not sure it's a taboo word. Everybody seems to say that, but it's a fact of life that if the bank itself doesn't disrupt itself, the market will disrupt you. So in some sense, the writing was on the wall. We were going down that line. So to answer your specific question, the few things that crossed my mind at the point in time, even before the D date, was to say few things. One, I had to take care of. I'm a client fronting guy in relationship management. So for me, it was external customers I had to take care of. Two, even internal customers, my own team, my own teammates in my department. These were two uppermost on my mind to say, what can I do to make sure that the transition is as smooth as it gets? Because ultimately, I also realized that in as much as I want to prepare myself, that when the day of reckoning comes, this is the same group of people, especially the clients, who potentially, bring me to my next stage, whether from a career point of view, from an assistance point of view, or even some contacts and some door openings. So for me, this was really uppermost on my mind. But unfortunately, is it enough time to pick up a new skill set at the point in time? That there wasn't any. So the reaction time was short, but at least what we have done right was to say that we take care of the customers whom we have been treating us on both sides, feeding them and they feeding us for years. And two, my own teammates, I was even trying to help. Honestly, I was even trying to reach out to say, is there another bank to go to bring the whole team along? Is there something that we can do for the teammates to place them even before the day comes? So all these things, not saying that I'm being noble, but those were really uppermost on my mind, even taking the last stage of saying, what about myself?
Yeah.
So again, unfortunately, the self part was a little bit short on the tail end. But if I look back, don't think it was a wrong thing to do that. Ultimately, if I latch on later, talking about what am I doing now, it's the same group of people whom I work together to make sure that it's a smooth transition to the end. That this is the same group of people whom I'm talking to now and giving me a helping hand here and there.
I mean, latching on that whole, self, because as I mentioned to you, I guess all the questions that I'm asking are sourced from the people that we deal with.
Yes.
Did you have to deal with any sort of feelings of being let down, or negativity? Why like this? And stuff like that. Why me? Because those are the kind of feelings that I suppose a lot of our job seekers go through. They have to negotiate that kind of emotional state. Did you, okay, maybe even not even in Hamburg, right? I guess across your career, did you ever feel like, that those things are like, why me? Why is this got to happen and stuff like that? And how did you overcome those things? I mean, any advice here?
Upfront, I mean, we are human beings. So to say that we don't have negative feelings, that's probably, trying to sugarcoat and say all things are fine. Definitely negative thoughts would have gone through your mind. Worrying, again, at different stage of our life, I suppose it's different. Like when you're younger, you probably think that where's my next dollar gonna come from?
Yeah.
When you're say heading a department, you start thinking, why me? People whom you have recruited to join you, is it fair to them? A lot of negative thoughts would have gone through your mind. It's not easy. I would say that it does cross my mind too. But again, at which stage can you say suppress those thoughts and turn it into a little bit more positive energy to say, how do I spur myself on? Yes, I could sit and slouch and start berate everybody around me for the days and nights, but then you realize that probably not as productive. So let's take a step forward, take a step back and say, maybe can I do something about it? Is it too late to pick up a skill? Too late to start talk to some friends, go to another bank? Even again, during my time, probably changing of industry wasn't as prevalent as what it is available now with all the assistance across the whole industry. But at the time, it's the same thing, right? Say, okay, can I go to another bank? Can I do this? Can I do something different? Those are thoughts that it's a fine balance. I think it's only up to us. I think all of us have it inside ourselves to say it's a mindset. Not easy. That's the toughest part. In actual fact, I was just talking to a good friend and saying that, what is the limitation? Actually, it's not physical limitations anymore. It's actually the mental state of mind. Easier said than done, right? How do I get out from this negative rut? Really, you find yourself in the hole. Can I climb out? But the longer I sit there, I realize that, the hole gets deeper. And it's not getting any easier by the day to get out. And so these are the moments that it's an emotional, right? Not an easy space for someone to tell you that, it's pride. It's also, you face that it's family, it's friends. How would your friends think of you? What would your friends be thinking about you? But so to me, yes, it's mindset shift. Mindset shift in the sense that can you gather enough positive thoughts to suppress the negative? You can never eradicate the negative thoughts, unfortunately. At least for me, I would probably say that I just try to find more positive spin, more positive thoughts to really suppress. And hopefully use it as a leverage to bring yourself out of the hole. And you find that once you're out on the ground level, you probably see things better.
I guess you're right. I mean, you are right. It's and I guess if I were to think about just a very simplistic example, not to make any of the audience members here feel like children, but when I deal with my kids, I also tell them, you can cry all you want, but the fact remains, right? And in the minutes that you cry, the homework is still not done. The homework has to be done. So you can spend the whole evening. So if you take an hour to cry, then you have to start an hour later, but it's unavoidable. So in many ways, I think it's a parallel, isn't it? I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's bad. It's a bad situation. And look, I guess we've all gone through it. And I think, as you rightly said, the key is how to change that mind to say, look, cry also no use, be angry also no use. You might as well just take a deep breath and maybe just, maybe as what you say, you cannot eradicate it, but at least you can maybe suppress it, keep it at bay. Yeah, because I think maybe you, when you were a hiring manager, I think you probably are trained to also see people who bring baggage along, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I think it's very, very important to try your very best to flush it out loud. So thank you for saying that. Now, this and another thing I wanted to which is the converse of what you just mentioned, right? Is how about those people who are ready, willing, and able, right? But they are sort of like in a specific age band, because I read less about this in the newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
I see it more.
Yep.
And that is basically everything's so linear. You study this, there'll be a job waiting for you. You take this course, good. But everything really much hinges on employers and employers' perception. So, for example, let's say, someone in their 50s, took out a course, ready, willing, and able, but the hirers, for whatever reason, say, no, that doesn't match, doesn't fit. But the whole notion of fit, I think, is a different definition. Maybe can fit, but certain other aspects, maybe hierarchy or age, older than line manager, the stuff like that, right?
Sure.
I don't know whether you have actually been in that position, whereby you had those feelings, or as a hiring manager, but also as a candidate. And do you have any thoughts or advice as to how they can, or how these people can overcome this? Is it overcomable? Can it be overcome? Because this is a perpetual issue that we face.
So Adrian, I can only borrow your words by saying it's not easy. In actual fact, I think you can only start with yourself. Hiring manager has also a mindset.
Yeah.
I think increasingly, maybe with the COVID, with what the IBF, with what the government is doing, people are opening up, beginning to accept that every individual is actually, there's a value proposition. How do you then, why would you hire someone with coming across with these skills and they're not a perfect match, versus how do you go for an interview without feeling, extremely even dejected even before the start of the interview? In the way I would probably say sometimes it's also maybe it takes two hands to clap. In as much as you want to do it, the hiring manager may not be there, or the hiring manager may be there, but you're not just not up to the count of thing. So I think that my own take is probably on three folds. First of all, is maybe be realistic. Let's tick off our own boxes for skill sets. What do I have? What value proposition am I bringing to either the interview, the projects, or even to the hiring manager?
Yeah, that's one.
Beyond dollars and cents, right? Beyond dollars and cents. Two, maybe in that case, and if you say, how do I scrub my CV, make it a better looking one, tailor it, of course, the tendency is for me to send out 50 job applications with the same CV.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to accept that that is one shot that you're getting at the hiring manager to take a look at you. So you may really have to tailor-made it to the organization that you're pitching to. Perhaps if this organization requires this a little bit more frontline skills, maybe stress a bit more on those experience. If this organization is looking for some backroom skills, stress a bit more on those backroom skills. So sprucing up CV, looking at your own skill sets. And of course, the last category, if you really can get it, is to find someone you know in the organization before you pitch. Of course, ideally, if you know enough about what the organization is all about, what they're looking for. I'm not saying that it's Guanxi or saying that, but of course, ultimately, it's a cliche. It's not what you know, it's actually who you know too. But that cliche sounds a bit odd. I'm not saying it's in a business way because I need to close a deal. That's true in life, in business. But I say even for an individual, maybe that's not a bad thing to start thinking to say, if I know someone inside, with some inside track, not so much of insider trading, but it may help for you to understand the organization a bit better, for you to have a positive voice within the organization, or for even someone to pitch for you to say, yeah, this chap or this person, this candidate, actually I can vouch for him or her, and I think he or she can deliver on the job too. So not easy. Every situation is different.
Yeah.
Every organization is different. And every time we make, maybe I'm in sales in front to say, every time I make a sales pitch, I would have to say 知己知彼, knowing yourself and knowing the enemy, knowing the organization before I pitch.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will increase your chance of success.
I think that's again, guys, for the people who are actually here, I didn't rehearse this at all with Keng Man, but he's actually essentially qualified to be a coach already, because that's exactly it's literally the four things that we say to everyone. For those people who are here who have not had sessions with us and seen our sessions, there's this thing that we call the Fantastic Four, like the Marvel superhero, and then there are four elements. One of them is the CV, the resume, like what Kim has mentioned, right? And then the ability to network with people, and then the third one would be research, and the fourth one is interview skills. They all come in a package, right? So and I think you kind of like hit the nail on the head, because those things, take one out, it's like a three-wheel car, right? The four have to come together, and they have to work very well together. So wow, awesome! Thank you so much, because that's exactly what we sort of say to our job seekers. So thanks very much. Okay, so the next thing is your current state, Keng. Like right now, you're at M Partners. Can you tell us a bit more about, obviously, the firm, right? But more importantly, right? How did it start? How did it begin?
You can say that it's both a necessity as well as the fact. I would probably say bring myself back down to when it was still first left the bank, right?
Yeah.
The first 2 months was not that we were rotting around. I think it's important to also give yourself the space to say, let's calm down. Of course, unpack the boxes after 10 years. Importantly is then you say, there's a decision to be made. Do I remain plugged or should I unplug? Because it's easy to say that, back to how we say, if you sit in the hole and unplug, we're below ground level. No one knows us. No one knows that we are there. No one knows that I'm still around. And no one knows that you are, I don't use the word in need for help, but you are available. There is a certain part of us to say, actually, we are still have a certain reputation, certain network, certain connection. So why don't I get replugged? So again, that explains why after 3 months, I say, let's start M Partners for two reasons. First of all, I would put it the other way around. Again, during the third month is especially LinkedIn help, IBF Connect help. So all these are contexts where you start telling everybody, say, I'm coming back. I'm still in the market. I am still who I am. I have still values, efforts, contributions to be able to value add to this whole organization or to the whole industry, to the whole Singapore itself. So I think that's when you find that it's interesting. People who start to reconnect, the messages that comes through, then you realize that you do have a decent network of friends, contacts, associates. But again, this is when I would probably caution, you have to be realistic. Not everyone is a friend.
Yeah.
Not everyone can help. But again, if you start with the idea that it's just a simple connect message, what have I got to lose? I'm not saying it's soft skill, you have to have a thicker skin, but you just have to have that, say you can get rejection. If you can get rejected by an interview, you can be rejected by an associate too. So I think that's how I really restarted and saying there is a certain value within the whole system. There are a few things that I start to tell myself, remind myself, where am I? What skill sets do I have? And it's interesting, Adrian, if I may put it this way, there are a few things that's happening in the market now. For COVID has made it so difficult, to be fair, for everybody out there to look for a job.
Yeah.
Maybe in terms of job opportunities, job openings. But COVID has a very strange way to saying that it also has travel restrictions. So for my line to say I am in Singapore, I am in Asia, and because of travel restrictions, maybe I have a value to add to my European counterparts who cannot come to Singapore during this period of time.
Yeah.
Two, when I see my own bank leaving, so it won't be the only one, it won't be the first, won't be the last. Sorry, unfortunately, I know we are banking, but again, with every departure, there is an opening in terms of business still has to be done by banks who may not be based in Singapore. So again, for me to be in Singapore, for me to be in Asia, can I value add to these banks who are still interested in Asia, being the center of growth, and Singapore being such a great financial center? So these are the two really drivers that got me to say, let's do something. Let's set up end partners to benefit or to even link up the ecosystem where there are SMEs, there are people who are in need of funds, and being a banker, we know there's ample liquidity out there. So can I do some matching between people who needs it and people who has it?
That's so interesting because that's a very interesting angle. So basically, what you're saying is that in essence, there really could be a silver lining in everything. There could be
maybe I'm trying to console myself, but it works on the positivity front.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's very, very good information. And actually myself, I haven't actually thought about it that way, but because so often do I think, right, that, oh gosh, closing shops, bad thing. People are being laid off. It's bad.
Yep.
But listening to you may not all, well, it is bad, but it may not all be bad. It may present another opportunity.
Sure.
To network people, grow your profile, or at least boost your profile,
Sure.
and find another way to leverage your skill set, which is great. Now on in what you did, right, and what you are trained to do, this frontline corporate banking, like relationship management type of individual. I don't know whether I'm putting you on the spot, Keng Man, but
Sure.
do you think that these kinds of skills can be trained? Because the demographics of a lot of our job seekers, how do I say this? Okay, I'm going to put it bluntly. If someone comes and sees IBF Careers Connect for advice, it is a good chance that he or she doesn't really know what to do, or is a bit rusty on those skills.
Sure.
that allow him or her to progress first. And that is the reason why, I don't know what I should share, but the reason why we don't really see a lot of front office guys, because the logic is that if you're good at what you do as a revenue generator, you don't need us, because the market will reabsorb you quite quickly. So, I mean, that's a very crude logic. Well, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, do you think these skills of being brave and pushing yourself out there is something that can be trained? Like, you can take a course in Tableau. Can you skill yourself in the soft skills, you think?
Probably back to how we started this discussion. It's really boils down to the individual. I think it's within each of us. We do have that. Again, it's like, let's start with, let's not get into a career. We ourselves play a different role, right? When you just mentioned with your kids, you play the role of a dad, you play the role of a husband, you play the role of a BFF to a group of friends that you hang out with. You are a mentor to some of your juniors. So in actual fact, we are already there. Whether is it frontline or back room, actually none of us has that. All of us has the innate capability, the DNA in us to say that we could already connect. But of course, how comfortable you are to expand this current group of contacts that you have. If I start with 5, if I'm comfortable with 5, can I be comfortable with 20, then 50, and then 100? It's not easy, right? It's not. I do say that it's probably selfish to say, because we have we live and breathe by sales. We are frontliners. We'll probably say easier to go in, but again, it's also come to a certain point. See, at this stage in our life, we must remember, even when we are very brave in the past, it's because I have the bank's logo behind me.
Yeah.
Now I am an individual. So if I am an individual, does it give me the same kind of strength the same kind of courage to talk to people. I think there's something which all of us have to say, let's take a step back before take a step forward. We can do it. I'm sure we can do it. So if you can talk to, the stern father to your kids, and you can be the most endearing man out there to your mentees. Maybe all of us to say that it's back to mindset. Can I couch myself? Can I prepare myself in that light to approach a different matter? So not saying that there's a course to attend that would benefit and help you with the soft skills. But again, it's back to how we say, we tick off our own checklist. What skill sets currently do I have? I mean, I'm not mentioning, hard skills, you say you're right. You could take up another digital course, an AI course, you can take up a treasury course, but maybe it's the soft skill sets that we maybe tick off our checklist. How many of these skills have I gotten already? Can I speak confidently to my contacts? You probably can. In actual fact, you could be the best in your WhatsApp group giving advice to all your friends. So maybe if you take that step back, if I can be the advisor in that group, can I be an advisor to an outside customer? So I wouldn't say maybe you're in a better position to talk about, what courses are there available. All I can say is that this is really something which we can do. So Adrian, maybe if you don't mind, I thought there's something I'd like to share from a personal view. It's interesting. I know if I mention Pokemon Go, everybody will laugh. It's not just saying that game itself is an interesting turn of events. You can say it's a child's game. But I would say I'll look at both sides. Pokemon Go, the original creator, for them to celebrate 25 years, there's something to be learned. Number two, for adults and child alike to be playing the same game, all of us have actually an angle to look at. So if I may just give a few of those skill sets that I thought, sorry, if it's very childish, please pardon me. It's like, if you look at it, there's a difference between being the Pokemon and being the Pokemon trainer. So all of us should aspire to be the trainer. Trainer, because effectively every Pokemon has different skill sets. So that's when you say, if I can accumulate my 5 best guys, which I put in skill set 1 to 5, I effectively would have these 5 to move around. At any one time, one skill set is probably stronger than the others. But then the game would teach us in a certain way. I can train each Pokemon a new skill. I can train each of them to pick up a new location, to go and battle in a new field. So these are moments I look at myself. If really I can arrange my skill sets into this. So if I have this in my pocket, right, as in the word Pokemon, it's actually a pocket monster. So if I have it in my pocket, at any one time, can I throw out one that will help me in my particular situation? All I can say is that every situation is different. Situational, not easy, right? You could throw out the wrong one and say, shucks, I regret. I should have taken out the other skill set to use. Yeah. But I suppose along the way, even as we journey, the good news I learned, at least from this game, is that the scenery changes as you walk. So, and the situation really changes with every skill set that you pick up, with every time you go into a different ground. Unfortunately, no two situations are the same. So hopefully, if we are thinking of this mindset, okay, walking itself is a plus. You exercise. Number two, if you start moving along the way, hopefully with more skill sets being picked in, we're able to employ or deploy the right skill set in every situation. Hopefully, it helps all of us as an individual to say, really, guys, we are moving in the right direction. Again, same thing. Staying stationary will not help you at all. You got to move. So there's something which I think all of us can have a takeaway to say, let's move. Let's take the next step forward. In every step forward is one little step towards a new opening, a new ground. Hopefully we'll find greener pasture. Hopefully we'll find something that we're more comfortable with. If you're not comfortable, take a step back. You're right. But the direction must be clear, and there's forward movement at the end of the day.
That's great. I'm just going to speak on behalf of my team. I want to license that Pokemon story for training next time.
Sorry, don't quote me. I know people will laugh and say it's a childish way to look at it, but it's interesting to see how adults and children can both be attracted for different reasons, right? The kid will see it being cute and do things, whereas for the adults, you can see literally people going head over heels and traveling miles and miles just to go for that one legendary Pokemon because it's worth the while. It's like a rainbow. You go for it. Go for your goal. Charge ahead. If you're not ready, get yourself ready. Train up. Go to the gym and do it right.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's wonderful. At this juncture, I guess I mentioned to the rest of the crowd that I also want to
Sure, please.
give you guys a few slides just to reiterate this whole idea of soft skills. I was thinking about it late last night, and I said I'll put in a few things because as I really want the session to be strong enough that you can be inspired, and to be brave and to like listen to what Kengman has said, and to tell you that it can be done. So none of my team has actually seen what I'm about to show you, okay? As something that I just assembled last evening. So I don't know whether you guys can see this. Please let me know if you can. Can you guys see this? Kengman, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Thank
you.
you.
So for everyone in the audience, I just put in a few things, and you know the QR code is on the right for where I got my source. So I just want everybody to read the three statements, right? So a doctor is required to have an extensive repertoire of hard skills, right? But a doctor who does not have soft skills will not likely be regarded by their patients. Similarly, a salesperson who may be unrivaled and have exhaustive knowledge of their market will find it difficult to close a deal if they lack the soft skills as well. And the third thing is obviously customer service professional, right? If you have an amazing organizational skills, you can only do well if you are able to interact professionally with customers, have empathy, and listening skills. And so the next slide is this whole notion of likability. This is what I guess I felt, when I first talked to Kengman those many months ago, likability. It's a topic that I think an author called Tim Sanders, I think, wrote about it. And it's something that I feature in a lot of my own workshops out there. And again, I put the QR code there for the full source. Likable people are more likely to be hired, to be listened to, and to have colleagues offer help and be promoted. And then to those people who say it can't be trained, some people believe that likability is innate. You're either likable or you're not, and your likability quotient is fixed. Your LQ is fixed, but it is wrong. As with any skill, if you focus on the right behaviors and apply yourself with practice, you will get better at being liked. I know that this is somewhat shallow. What is all this? What LQ, IQ, EQ, and now got LQ. But the truth is, guys, we see it in many areas of our life. And again, another example I like to talk about is when I go and go to the market and buy fish for the family. I always go to this auntie who I know charges me more. Seriously. But why do I go to her? It's because I trust her and we have a good conversations and we have a rapport. So even if it costs me a bit more, I'm happy to go to her. Similarly, like maybe 10 years ago, I bought a car and I bought a French car, a Renault, which back in the day was a terrible decision to make. But why did I buy it? I bought it because of the salesperson, right? Because he was a man of his word. He gave me a good price, and he said, if this car ever breaks down, you have my word. You can borrow mine. So chemistry and rapport is this invisible thing, that makes people more invested in you, and that's where the soft skills, I personally feel, come in as well, right? So I just wanted to share that with you. And then also, last but not least, very, very important, and I think on the back of what I picked up from Kengman, again, this is not rehearsed. This is just happens to be stuff that I was doing on my own. It's about the idea of being proactive and authentic. In a sort of like a COVID environment, coupled with this whole digital transformation of financial services and broader, gone are the days whereby you go on a job website and then you apply and then you sit and wait, job done. I don't think your job's ever even started if you only do that. So the whole idea of proactivity and authenticity is very important. Authenticity means being comfortable in your own skin, right? So I just want to share something. Again, as I said, none of my team has actually seen this before, but before I joined IBF, I was contemplating a move and I was doing this whole thing like what Kengman was saying, he talked about LinkedIn, right? So this is what I did. This is my message. Approaching someone I do not know. Literally what I wrote to the person. So I believe that if I can do it, anyone can do it. So I'll tell you the story of this. So I saw a role which I thought was amazing for me, and I really felt that I could do this job. So I feel so convicted I could do this job that I needed to I asked myself, what is the chances, right, that if I apply online, that is going to get lost in the whole pool of other applicants? So I said, I got to find the person who's hiring for this. Okay, so I went to find him, and I found him. His name is James. Right? I'm not going to give away where he works from. You all have to search yourself. Okay, so anyway, I wrote to James. I say, oh, this is me, and so on and so forth. I'm so excited, so enthusiastic. Can I have a chat with you and something like that? And so I wrote it on January 9th, 2019. I joined IBF in April 2019. Okay, so I'll tell you the story after that. So I wrote to this guy, and I waited. And normally, you always hope that someone will reply to you in the next few days, but he didn't lah. Okay, so it didn't. So I just wait. And so about 20 days later, he replied. He said, hey, thanks so much. Apologies for the delay. I was out on leave. I am sort of referring you to this lady and so on and so forth. Okay, guys, listen to what I've done. Okay, so basically, I started targeting the person. Person responds, thankfully, hopefully, puts me in touch with this person, which is like a subordinate lah. I write to the person and I use the magic words, oh, your boss referred me. so no choice, have to talk to me already. I'm sorry, right? But so I spoke to her. The point I'm trying to make is that I went all the way to the end, but for whatever reason, I couldn't take the job because I needed to be in Singapore more often, where for my kids and stuff, and I didn't expect the role to be too heavy, so heavy on the traveling bit. So the point I'm trying to make is that if I had been a passive person and just apply online, I wonder to myself whether I would get this far. Right? So maybe their system would be smart enough to shortlist me, but I told myself I needed to take charge of me, of my career, and I wanted to push myself out there. So this is exactly what I did. This is the reason why, through the grace of God or my friends, I have been blessed with people who have been vouching for me, as like what Keng has said. And I really didn't have to apply so hard. And now before you think that, I'm a different age group, I have to tell you that even though, I may look young, I'm on the wrong side of 40 already, okay? So I think the challenges I face are very, very real. And therefore, I wanted to share with everybody that, if I can do it, anyone can. I know my weaknesses very, very well, but I also know my strengths. My weaknesses is that I could never do a data course. I think I would probably fail. And the people, my team members who are here will vouch for that because I'm really hopeless with that kind of stuff. And that's okay. I mean, if you know what it is that you are bad at and you're going to struggle with, then at least you're aware, right? And that helps you make decisions about what you want to do and what you shouldn't maybe do, right? But then if you think about what you're good at, that can also illuminate a light in terms of what you should be pursuing, that can maybe maximize your chances of longevity and things like that. So I just wanted to this is probably the tangible stuff that I wrote to you guys, saying that I want to impart to you, not just words and stuff, but also tangible actions that you can do. Because if I can do it, you can do. It's all about how you treat other people and how you approach other people. If you go hard and say, hi, my name is this is my resume, hire me, definitely cannot lah, cannot, right? You gotta go on a first date first, as they say, right? And then you have to get to know people first. So I wanted everybody to take this away and to tell that if you are in a jam right now, like what Keng says, no point, being too upset about it. Wake up, shower, be fresh, and go and attack it head on, and try your very best. You get hit, you fall down, you pick yourself up, right? That's just the Rocky kind of if you see the Rocky thing, you pick yourself up, and that's how just how it has to be lah. And so my final slide before I ask Keng the last question, right, is for those people who know this picture, the lion and the gazelle. I don't know how many people will know, but there is a phrase by Thomas Friedman, I think so. Every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up and he knows he has to run faster than the fastest gazelle or he will starve. Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up and he knows that he has to outrun the slowest lion or he will be eaten. Right? So the moral of the story is, doesn't matter if you're the gazelle or the lion, when you wake up, you have to start running. Okay, so that's basically a sort of like a call to action for everybody here. Now, coming back to our session, Keng, I want to ask you your own thoughts, right? Maybe your own I don't know what you call it, like your parting words, for example. Before we start taking any questions, if there are any, what would you say are your own tips, or your you could say these are the things, 1, 2, 3, if there's such a thing, to maximize survivability and employability, what would those be on Keng Man's list, top things?
Wow, you're putting me on the spot.
I'm sorry, man.
No. I thought, I like to say that it's probably a single letter D. I know you will laugh, always say D for diet because COVID everybody puts on weight. No. Actually, D, I would put it as discipline. Discipline on both fronts. Discipline mentally, because that really boils down to what we have been discussing the whole afternoon.
Yes.
How do we wake up every morning with more positive thoughts than negative? So also from a mental mindset, right? I'm going to write the next resume. I'm going to do my next project. I'm going to do my next pitch. So the mental part becomes such a big push that you could really either go to two extremes. So I would really put it as mental health and discipline is something that we want to do very well. Of course, then I say physical discipline. We could sit around, sleep around, and then sulk the whole day. Then also physically. So again, back to rest, exercise, diet. I think this is still an important part on the physical. So effectively, I wouldn't put it as saying that is, of course, it's easier said than done. Every day, we like to think that we wake up as the same person, same positive thoughts, either the gazelle or the lion, right? But there are moments where you really don't feel like either, or you feel like you're being eaten away on the same day. So those are the moments where you're really gonna knock your head against, say, guys, it's time to bounce back. It's time to bounce back. Even if I fall off for that 1 hour, it's fine. Don't be too hard on yourself. Let's bounce back. Let's bounce back and then take on the next day as a new day. So every day is, I know it's a cliche, it's a new dawn, it's a new opening, it's another day of opportunity. We could let it go, but again, if we have done even more right than wrong within the 24 hours, beyond the sleep, hopefully that would bring us to fight another day, bring us to walk to the next battleground. Hopefully today I will meet with someone that will help me along the way in 1 month's time. So I would say don't be too hard on yourself, and hopefully with each passing day, not say just say, I know counting your blessings is just a simple way of putting it, but maybe to say that every little bit of contact, every little bit of traction that you're making forward is still a step forward. So again, I know these are not say motherhood statements, but not as easy as it seems. All of us are human beings. We do face different pressures, and every time sometimes we do have a setback. Say, oh, this project didn't come through. What a waste! I wasted. But again, I don't think anything is wasted. So if we keep moving forward, selfishly, I'll say that's the only way that we can really stay positive and not being backtracked, and then they'll start falling behind again.
Totally agree. And I guess at this juncture, I'm looking at the Q&A and I saw some questions for us. Sure. And I don't know, Kimman, if sure, we can try to do this, right? So the first question probably will require you to put on your hat as maybe a line manager. I don't know.
Sure.
Like DBS or Hamburg. Okay. So the question, I don't know if you can see that. How would you include soft skills effectively in a CV that add value for a management level role that manages a team, even though hang on, this is interesting. Sorry. How would you include soft skills effectively in a CV that add value for management level roles to showcase managing a team, even though I'm not good at these? Is there a way to assess likability?
Maybe likability, I'll leave it to you to answer your LQ. Let me take on the first one. I would probably say give life example. Especially if you have run a project, if you have run a particular, it may not even be work, it could be outside work, but I think important is to show, if you really, that's the only way to catch it. If you think that's the most important skills you need to pitch, then probably show a real life example of what you have actually done that differentiate yourself, that you're above the rest, that this is a quality that you have, and you could contribute to the organization with this particular quality. Likability, I'm not sure a better profile, a glam picture would help, but that's I'll leave it to you, Adrian, to answer that question about likability. But I would really think that a real life example would help, because if not, everybody can write the same thing. I have this, and this. But how would you have manifested it in your either previous job, current job, or even in a non-work setting?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And for the likability thing, honestly, like for us, at least for me, when I do coaching, before I meet someone, I look at the resume lah, and I try to make a mental picture of my best guess of what the person would be like lah. So likability is most easy. For example, for me, when I see like a teller or customer service type of resume, I mean, default, has to be likable. Especially like what you mentioned, examples of, rated 5 stars or 95%, positive reviews. I will probably think you're quite likable, without meeting you. So those are the quick ways. Things like, I know this is like very, not very well covered, but things like what you do outside of work, right? I don't know how you feel about this, Kingman, but I like to see what people do outside of work, because all work and no play make someone a dull boy lah. So things like volunteering at church, or this or that, something that you do in groups or mentor and so on and so forth, makes me believe that you have those interpersonal skills lah.
Sure.
So that is probably me. And like what you mentioned as well, managing teams, managing stakeholders, up, down, out, your internal things, your bosses, your clients. Those are, that dovetails into how I feel, like what Kingman says as well. So those are the areas that you should focus. Those elements that showcase those soft skills that we talked about. Yeah. So the second question that we have, this one is heavy. So we try. During a career inflection point, we need to first appreciate our situation and recalibrate. Would both Adrian and Kingman share pointers and resources to accelerate the process and to seek out the compass, especially after reaching seniority or senior roles and the roadmap is less clear than the early years? Do you get all of that, Kingman?
Wow. It's a mouthful, but it's interesting to talk about inflection point. Is maybe just a clarification, right, Adrian? I think it's important to identify, are you at the point where things, sorry if I use the word, let's say between a branch closure, a department closure, are you at the stage even before you hit that stage? Ideally, if you can have the inflection point even before the organization is disrupted, then I say it's really good, because then you have to answer yourself the question is that if I'm at this inflection point, continuing on this path is really going to, it's not so much of a dead end, but really there's going to be limited scope for expansion, limited scope for development. And that's when you find that, what is then my value contribution to this organization that I'm staying in? Of course, ideally, I like to have, I've always been trained to remember that ideally, all of us in an ideal world is to manage ourselves out of the job. That means if I do my current job so well that actually I can go to either the next higher role to play in the same pillar, the same column, or I can go laterally to do something else that will be successful again in a lateral field. I mean, ideally, if you are in that stage where at the inflection point you have a choice to make, then I think that's where I would probably say is to really ask yourself this genuine question. To continue on this path, how much more runway do I have? If it's 3 years, then they may not do it. If it's another 10 years, we see, I'm fine, I can last. But again, disruption is happening. It may not be 10 years as what you have said it. But on the other hand, if you're already like what happened to me and my colleagues, where the branch closure is imminent, then the inflection point is very, very different. Then it's a case of what other skills do I really need now to move outside of this organization? Where can my current skill sets be an immediate latch on to the next organization? But of course, if there's no latch on, then you're right. Let's pick up a new skill set. But even then, what does the new skill set translate into? Is something is it really a flavor of the year? Or does it something that will suit given where we are, current, unfortunately, talk about age, skill sets? With this new skill, does it really change my resume or my CV to be attractive to the next employer? It may or may not, because it could be the flavor of the industry. But if it doesn't seems to be able to, you are not able to convert that skill, then I'll probably say, unfortunately, we may have passed that point, but it's maybe the time to relook and then rejig and also recalibrate ourselves to say, maybe let's focus on something that we already have and try to make do with the other rest. I mean, that's how it's unfortunate I can't answer it, because inflection point depends on really which stage you are in your career and at which point is the organization that you're currently in, where you're already being forced to inflect, or you feel that if it's a voluntary self-examination, then I think it's great. Then you really have more options.
I think just to also add to what Kingman said, and there's a lot of information that Kingman gave, is also one of those things that as career advisors we say, right? Any calibration and things like that has to also take into account the larger things that are going on in your life, right? So, for example, if you are in a point whereby, look, I the company gave me a very good handshake, so I can do a lot of pro bono stuff for a long time. So you're in a position where your options are much bigger. But then, of course, if that's not the case and you need certain amount of like say monetary amount to keep the family humming and pay your livelihood, right? Then your thing gets smaller, I suppose. So it's all of those things, and also always coming back to that whole notion of knowing yourself very, very well. Like, as I said, like for myself, I know what I'm really not really quite skilled at. And I know on the converse what I am skilled at. So knowing yourself very well will help to bring your compass not like this, right, but at least give you a general direction, like where you can go and where you should maybe stay away from. And so obviously, the more senior you go, the air is thinner up there. There are less MD positions, there are less D positions. So you got to think about, whether you're going to hold on for another MD position, which could be a very long time. Or maybe, you keep yourself busy, how Kingman keeps himself busy by creating M partners, or maybe do some advisory work for some young startup fintechs, where your reputation, your name can some value to the companies and so on and so forth. So I think, while we may not be able to answer the precise answer, but hopefully the information will point the compass needle not all around the place, but just a general direction, that would help you. So hopefully that kind of helps you as well. I'm trying to take another couple of questions now because we're running out of time already. Okay. What are some of the things you think that one should do when thinking about coming back from a sabbatical? Maybe it's stuff that you already mentioned. I don't know.
Oh, sabbatical.
Medical sabbatical.
Oh, okay. I suppose sabbatical, again, unfortunately, I would probably have to say the first clarification must be how long have you been out of the market?
Yep.
So if you say it's just a short period of time, there are two things. One, how long have you been away? Two, are you a frontliner or you on the back room, or rather a very strong support position? If it's some frontliners, unfortunately, being away for too long sometimes has really lots of downside. You are no longer current with your information, unless you're saying that even during the sabbatical, you have been keeping current, you have been staying current, and you have not totally unplugged. So if it's a frontliner, I think the challenge is really how do you get back yourself into a current state of a better state, if I may put it this way. Better as in going to better. Are you better ready? If you are not, then it's really time to just take a step and say, okay, what do I need to get better ready? From physical fitness to mental fitness, all the way down to say, are my contacts still current? So if I'm still doing the same job, then I would probably say currency becomes really the core of the day. Let's get it right first. If you're not, then again back to say, reach out to your contacts. Would attending, for example, a webinar help, or would talking to some of your close friends help to just get a very quick update on where the world has changed? Unfortunately, even talk about banking, right? You talk about digital, the fintech world. That's also changing by the days, by the weeks, by the months. So if you're staying away for so long, how do you then tell yourself and your next employer that I am still current, that I am not going to be a liability when I rejoin, but I can immediately plug and play, and I can join the continue with the run at the same time.
Yes.
Of course, if you say, even unfortunately, I mean, if I use the word compliance or even use the word some of the admin stuff, it has changed too. If you're away for too long, unfortunately, regulations have changed. The whole world has moved on to a next stage of either stricter regulations. The law has changed. Some countries have now been on the list. So again, same thing. How do I get myself current, even if I'm a strong support staff, to be able to go into the organization again, say, guys, I'm going to do this. The important part, I would probably find that in this current situation where headcount is scarce, the last thing we want to portray is that we are liability. We can't be. We want to be an asset to whichever organizations, whichever project that we want to go in, and people see you as an asset, say, okay, I'm willing to take a risk on you. Although you've been away, you are still an asset, and I would love to have you on my team.
Correct. And also the final thing that I will again also add is being realistic lah. I mean about like what, because when 5 years have passed or how many years have passed, things have moved on, and then you probably want to ease yourself into the to the work environment. So things like practical things like compensation and stuff, you got to be very
sure. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so these are all very, very, very good things, and just very normal things that you can consider for the person who wrote this question. Hope that answers. Now, guys, and I'm sorry that we sort of ran out of time. It always happens when we're having a lot of fun. For the people who are here, please, if you don't mind, just help us with this upcoming 4-question survey. It'd be very, very helpful for myself and Kingman as well. Lisa, can I help you? So this one, if you're fast enough, you can get through this within a minute and a half. But hopefully you give us the true and honest answers, because we want to improve ourselves and we want to make sure that we give you the right sort of sessions moving forward. I definitely want to bring Kingman back again, but only if you tell me that you want this kind of session. I hope you do, because I enjoy this kind of sessions. Yeah, but please let us know. You should all be able to see this on your screen. So please, can I just implore all of y'all to just give us some real feedback, so that we can do better for you all. So can we just hang in there, because as I mentioned,
no problem, Adrian. Thanks so much for having me. Hopefully it's beneficial to everyone who has dialed in. I know it's still time away from each other's schedule, but hopefully we have managed to at least share some parts that's usable.
Yes, and I said, right, I said to everybody that the the tricky thing about soft skills is that you can't catch it, as in like there's nothing, it's not black and white. It's always very gray. So as you rightly mentioned, I'm hoping that for everybody here, you listen, and then you take away the best things that could apply to you, for yourself and for your own circumstances, what I mean, and that will be hopefully helpful. More and more so as well, apart from all the technical things, I could have called Kingman in to talk about structured finance or something like that, which is something that maybe at some point we might. But I wanted, because of the nature of his career evolution, I thought much better if we can talk about this situation in fact. But please let us know, what you like, what you want to see, and then we will cater it accordingly lah. Yeah. So just give it a few more minutes. Lisa, I don't know whether you can monitor the response. Anyone else can?
Yeah, I think we have 20 out of 28, so we'll wait another minute or two.
Yeah, guys, come on, give me 25 at least. Do I sound like a...
You're putting pressure. Put pressure. Maybe, Adrian, then we should start playing the Pokemon game now. Everybody should benefit.
Yeah, I want to also tell you, right? It's not just a kids' game, because I see adults like going and bumping into lampposts, just looking at the screen, looking for Pokemon. So I think it's as you mentioned, it's a worldwide phenomenon that I see. It's like wow, it's
wow. I mean, what is interesting is that even Post Malone can put a song to celebrate 25th anniversary. So at least it's current. It's no longer saying that it's the oldies or the youngies playing it.
Not bad. I'm very impressed. You also know Post Malone. Do you have like Post Malone here, like age kids or something like that?
I've got two girls, 20 and 22.
Oh,
20 and 22.
There you go.
So they're good. I mean, of course, they are into K-pop, so I'm not too sure how that gets translated, but it's okay. It's fun.
Yeah, can see you on TikTok at some point, Kingman.
No, to be fair, we're also learning from the girls. I think that's an important point. Every stage, even when whatever they're going through in school now, it's just interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So wow, I mean, I didn't know your kids were so old. Yeah, I really got married quite late. But anyway, okay, so we're kind of out of time. I want to thank everybody, about 92% who kind of responded to the survey. Thank you all so much. Kengman, my first thanks to you for spending this hour.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed the session, and hopefully, all I can say before we start, hopefully it helps even one more person.
Absolutely, and we're all about helping the people, and I'm sure that even though the audience can't really speak, I'm sure that they're very thankful that you're here. I've also, guys, for those people who want to follow up questions with us, IBF Careers Connect at ibf.org.sg. Bit of a mouthful, but IBF Careers Connect at ibf.org.sg. Write to us if there are any questions. Write to us if you have any things that pop into your mind after this session, and also write to us if you feel that you need a session with a career advisor. be very happy to help you. Without, I guess, further ado, Keng, I'm going to let you go. And everyone,
you.
thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you at the next session. And have a pleasant day, everybody, and a pleasant weekend. Thanks, Keng, and talk to you
Thanks
soon.
very much. Appreciate that. Thanks everybody for dialing.
All right.
Thank you. Good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.